Hey everyone, here's a quick review on interval notation. So in interval notation, we have a couple times we use parentheses. You guys know already that we're supposed to use either parentheses or brackets. So let's talk about the times to use each. So we're going to use parentheses when we have just a less than or just a greater than. Notice that there's no or equal to sign because we don't want the number included. So it's just a less than or just a greater than. The other times we use parentheses is when we involve the negative infinity or the positive infinity. So these four cases would cause us to use parentheses. An example being x is less than negative 2. So it's all numbers less than negative 2. So we start as low as possible at negative infinity. Notice the parentheses. And go up to negative 2. Again, not or equal to, so just less than gives us parentheses. Now we use brackets when we're x is less than or equal to, or x is greater than or equal to. So like x is greater than or equal to 3. We start at 3 because it's all numbers greater than or equal to 3, and since it could be equal to 3, we're going to use a bracket because we want it included. But that's going to go up to infinity, which we said already is a time when we use parentheses. So here's a quick review of how to use parentheses and brackets within interval notation. Next, when do we start with negative infinity and end with a number? And when do we start with a number and end with infinity? Well, simply, we start with negative infinity when x is less than or x is less than or equal to. We start with a number and go to infinity when x is greater than or x is greater than or equal to. So let's try an example here. Say x is less than or equal to 3. These are all numbers less than or equal to 3. So we have to believe that the lowest possible number, negative infinity, would fit in the set of numbers less than or equal to 3. Right? We start with the lowest number possible and go to the highest number possible. If we're talking about greater than, we start with the smallest possible number, which is 4, and go to all numbers possibly greater than 4, which is going up to infinity, which is the biggest possible number. And again, both get parentheses because it's not or equal to. This one got a bracket because it is, as you can see, or equal to. Let's just do a couple quick examples. On this first one, 2x minus 3 is greater than 5. We're going to add 3 to both sides. We get 2x is greater than 8. Divide both sides by 2, and x is greater than 4. So this is all numbers greater than 4. When we think about all numbers greater than 4, we think like 5, 6, 100, 1,000, a million, but no numbers that are less than 4. So we want to start with our lowest possible number, that's 4. Since it's just x is greater than, we have a parenthesis, and we go up to the greatest possible number that we know, and that's infinity. So this is kind of combining those first two slides about when to use parentheses, and how we should start with 4, the number, and end with infinity when we're dealing with a greater than. Then, let's try this one. X over 4 plus 2 is less than or equal to negative 4. Subtract 2 from both sides. X over 4 less than or equal to negative 6. So we have x over 4, which, just remember from class, x over 4 is the same as saying 1/4 times x. Okay, that's just 1x over 4. So technically we can pull the x and put it on the outside, because it's still multiplying, it would still give us x over 4 if we put it all back together. So just for the reciprocal sake, we'll do that. We'll have multiply by 4 over 1 on both sides. And x is less than or equal to negative 24. So less than or equal to negative 24. That's numbers like negative 25, negative 26, negative 100, negative 125, negative 3,000. These are all numbers less than or equal to negative 24. So we have to be at our lowest possible number first. Infinities always get parentheses. We go to our highest possible number, which is going to be negative 24. And since it's or equal to, this little sign down here, it gets a bracket. And that's an interval notation. So when you do a quiz problem, this is what you should get. You get an answer that's an inequality, and be able to rewrite it in interval notation. next one, we got to distribute first. Negative 2x minus 2 less than or equal to 8. Add 2 to both sides. Negative 2x less than or equal to 10. So now I divide by negative 2. Since I just divided by a negative number, I have to flip. And I get x greater than or equal to negative 5. So that's my answer. Now to put that in interval notation, I'm seeing that as greater than, so it has to be all numbers bigger than or equal to negative 5. I start with negative 5 because it's greater than. I start with the number, put a bracket because it's or equal to, and I go up to infinity because that's the biggest possible number we can ever imagine. And the last example I'll give you, 1/3 times x plus 9 is less than 6. Distribute in first. 1/3 x plus 3 less than 6. I could have also written this as x over 3. Remember, it's the same thing as saying 1/3 times x. Subtract 3 from both sides. Get 1/3 x less than 3. Multiply by the reciprocal on both sides. You get x is less than 9. So since it's a less than problem, and notice we did not flip because we multiplied by a positive. Only if it were negative would we flip. So since it's less than, we start with the lowest possible number we could imagine, and that's a negative infinity. And we end with our number here, 9. Notice how there's no or equal to, so we use parentheses. And that's about it for interval notation. Hopefully this helped.